And we're coming to you live for the Built Full Tough Studio. Boomer Esiason, Greg Giannotti. It's Boomer and Gio on the Fan. Simulcast across the country on CBS Sports Network. And wherever you're on the free Odyssey app. Good Wednesday morning. When we were discussing all the Jets, Rob Saleh, Zach Wilson, Joe Benigno, Aaron Rodgers nonsense yesterday, I said with the timing of everything that we know is coming this week, this is going to continue tomorrow and then Thursday because you have Aaron Rodgers with McAfee on Tuesday. You got Rob Saleh later today who's going to name a starting quarterback, and he's going to be asked questions about what the hell is going on, which then will spill into tomorrow. The Jets just cannot get out of their own way with this particular story. And Aaron Rodgers yesterday, sitting across from Pat McAfee in New York City, slams the organization, slams Diana Russini and Zach Rosenblatt for their reporting, saying it was character assassination, calls the Jets, which what they are, a losing organization. So now you got that on top of everything else. So you had this poop Sunday, and Aaron Rodgers came in, put the whipped cream on top of it, and I got a feeling Rob Saleh's putting the cherry on top of the poop Sunday later today. Good morning, Boomer. How are you?
Good morning, G. Yeah, I'm doing all right. It's kind of interesting, where Aaron Rodgers is coming from. He is assuming that whatever the leak is coming from inside the building. And maybe it is, but it's probably not coming from who he thinks it's coming from. He doesn't realize, or maybe he hasn't thought about it. I would think that he would have. But all you have to do is think about who these reporters are. So, Zach Rosenblatt and Diana Russini, very good at what they do. The story is 100% true. I'm convinced of that. And they did a good job digging it up. So where did they dig it up from? Think a coach gave him the intel? Do you think maybe a player gave him the intel? And I'm assuming that Aaron Rodgers is not lambasting the organization if, in fact, the player was the one that divulged the intel to somebody. Maybe the player divulged the intel to one of his agents or his agent, and that agent was the one that was discussing this with Diana Russini. So there's a lot of different tentacles to this. It's not just inside the building. It's also stuff that comes from outside the building. So let's say Zach had a conversation, I don't know, with Tim Boyle.
Tim Boyle, who was released yesterday. And by the way, I had thought about this immediately when he got released. So I'm listening. I actually see the tweet come across my phone, and I'm listening to BT and Sal while this is going on. And they hadn't talked about it. So I texted to Hoffman and Sal, and immediately in my mind, when I send that text, I'm like, he's the leak. He's got to be the guy. Well, you can't go from starting 2 games to we got Timmy's back, and Timmy's going to start again, and he's been here the whole time. We're going to give him another chance to cut. And then you're talking about leaks everywhere. He's got to be involved somehow is what I was thinking.
Well, I mean, he, who I'm sure is very good friends with Zach Wilson, probably had a lot of very good constructive conversations over the last 2 months. And, maybe if Zach says to him, hey, look, man, I need a little, advice here on my career. What do I do if they want to go back to me? Should I go back? Shouldn't I go back? Should I protect myself? I'm going to be a free agent next year. I don't want to get hurt. The other person that he would have been talking to would have been Aaron Rodgers, and probably asking Aaron Rodgers all these questions.
Sure.
So, I mean, the way that Aaron just went after the Jets yesterday makes me think that, it's not somebody in the building. It's somebody who's attached to somebody in the building, meaning it could be a player or a player agent. That, to me, makes a hell of a lot more sense than Joe Douglas or Rob Saleh texting that to his buddy Joe Benigno.
You know what I mean? I don't think any of us, I don't think we think those are 2 separate stories. The Joe Benigno, Rob Saleh situation and the Diana Russini, Zach Wilson situation are separated, at least for the time being.
But it is the same story in a sense that there are people in that building that do have relationships with people outside of that building.
Yeah.
And they're giving those people information.
Now, Diana Russini, who worked for ESPN for a long time and is someone who I know listens to this show and has done a great job reporting the NFL. She's not someone who is there every day at Florham Park. She covers the league, right?
That's right. So she's not there every day. So I'm sure she has relationships within the building. All these people that seem to cover these teams do.
Yeah.
but she's not a beat reporter that is covering the team on a daily basis.
Yeah, so that makes even more sense to me that this could come from somebody outside of the building. Now, if I'm a connect the dots guy, can I be a connect the dots guy?
I'd love for you to be a connect the dots guy.
Because sometimes we like speculation, sometimes we don't like speculation, but just tell me if
we're
you think...
reacting to what Aaron Rodgers said yesterday. The conversation that we're having now is because of what Aaron said yesterday.
And also what the Jets did in releasing Tim Boyle, which is one, Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Rodgers and Nate Hackett's buddy, and two, just started a couple games for them, and he knows the offense. He's been there the entire time. He's worked with Nate Hackett before, and now all of a sudden he's gone just like that. All right, so Tim Boyle gets benched for Trevor Siemian. Now the wheels start to turn because Trevor Siemian, he's the last guy who had gotten there. He doesn't look good in that short amount of time that he's in there. So after this game, the rumblings are happening about going back to Zach, and the quarterbacks in the quarterback room are saying this could be a possibility. Zach says to Tim Boyle, what you had thrown out there, man, I don't know. If they ask me to play again, is that just like an automatic yes? I mean, what if I go out there behind this offensive line and get killed, and then I have a tough time getting on or hanging on with another team or whatever? I mean, and plus the way that this has been handled, I mean, I don't know. I mean, what would you do? So then Tim Boyle, I'm watching this Squid Game. There's a lot of shivving going on back and forth with that on Netflix. So then Tim Boyle's like, okay, well, wait a second. I want to start still. I want to be out there. And Tim Boyle goes to his agent. I can't believe, they're going to bench me. Zach doesn't even want to play.
Right, exactly. Something like that, yes.
He doesn't, yes. He's reluctant to play, and they're going to, this is crazy. This is my shot. I wasn't that bad, which he was, but this is what he's telling his agent. I wasn't that bad. So then, in an effort to get Tim Boyle another chance to start, the agent gives the story to Diana Rossini, who puts it out there. And then, all of a sudden, the thing blows up in their face and Tim Boyle is out because they trace this thing back to the agent, Diana Rossini, and the whole thing. Am I onto something or not?
You could be onto something. I mean, that's another place where this could come from. That doesn't mean it's coming from inside, the Jet organization, meaning coaches and leakers and assistant general managers.
Boyle directly.
Yeah, no, it would be. It would be a very innocent conversation that Zach would have with somebody. And now, now they expect Zach to stand up in front of the team today again, like he did last year. I'm like, we are truly living last year all over again now.
Yeah, 100%.
And now we got to stand up in front of the team and tell everybody what happened here, because I think there was a tinge of disgust, that Aaron Rodgers probably had just having to deal with this story and thinking, like all of us who have played think. Like, are you kidding me? This is really what we're dealing with?
Yeah. And the assassination on his character thing that he said with this report where you've got sources and now you're essentially assassinating this guy's character and saying he's quitting on the team. The report didn't say that. And by the way, Rob Saleh and Aaron Rodgers, in their own way, confirmed that this happened. All right, so forget about that for a second, Aaron Rodgers. We know that it's true. Now, in the report, they said he was reluctant to play because of injury. They didn't say he was quitting on the team. They didn't say that he 100% said, no, I'm not going to play. He didn't say that how the Jets treated him was the reason why he didn't want to play. It was reluctance because of injury at that point. And if he has that conversation, even though a lot of people don't agree with the reluctance, that's a human reaction to something. So assassination on his character, when you have confirmed that the story is true, those two things can't go together. Damn. And he's the one who put out there, Aaron Rodgers yesterday on Pat McAfee, he's the one who said the words quit on his team and all these other things that he was putting in the words of the reporters that they never said. So, he made that report sound worse than it actually was.
Which is why this is a very bizarre situation, that you have a quarterback who's supposed to be the leader, who was leading from 3,000 miles away after he had gotten hurt for the first, couple weeks, 3 weeks or 4 weeks, whatever it was, until Taylor Swift came to MetLife. But then all of a sudden now he's paid $1 million to go on Pat McAfee, and he has to go on. He has to, he has a contract with them, and he is basically now all of a sudden in every story. I've never seen a guy that has been this injured, this covered. I've never seen it. I mean, honestly, Kevin Durant was here. He was hurt, had the same injury, and barely we even talked about. We made fun of the fact that he wasn't playing, and that the Nets were paying him for an injury that he suffered while playing for another team. That was about it.
Sure.
I mean, this has gotten to proportions with a guy that's injured. Hey, if you told me that he was receiving endorsement dollars for getting the type of injury he got, and to talk about the rehab, and to talk about the doctor, and to talk about the speed bridge, I would not be shocked. I would not be shocked. Because there's two different types of surgeries. You have the old school surgery that you get done, and then you have this newfound surgery that supposedly is supposed to speed up healing. And he had to make a decision. Which one am I doing? And you're telling me that, okay, I'm going to go with this, and then I am just going to. And a documentary's coming.
Well,
there's 100% a documentary coming either on Max or Netflix or something on this miraculous rehab that we're going through.
Do we know that? Are there cameras around following this?
They may not be following him around at Jet Camp, but wherever he's rehabbing or wherever he's doing the beginning of the rehab, we're going to get a documentary. You just know it.
Oh, man.
I'm telling you.
It sounds like
every opportunity that he's going to seize every opportunity, which he should. I don't necessarily know that I have a problem with that, but what I do have a problem with is that he's assuming that somebody within the Jets organization is the one that leaked this story about Zach Wilson.
Yeah,
and I'm just telling you, there are many other alternatives to have leaked this story.
Sure. Now it could have come from. Like, I've connected the dots. Tim Boyle having a conversation with Zach Wilson and then taking that conversation to his agent. But Tim Boyle, in that scenario, didn't go directly to a reporter. It's just an agent who's trying to fight for his player to stay on the field, and then it ended up blowing up in their face, which is a potential thing. So, yeah, I mean, coming from inside the building, coming from outside the building is a big difference. If there is an agent that is leaking these things, it's one thing. If it's someone who is in there shoulder to shoulder every single day with those players and leaking stuff about Zach Wilson, who has been the quarterback the majority of the time of the last 3 years,
if you told
that's even a bigger deal.
If you told me like a trainer or an equipment manager or somebody like that, which is really, or front office people, which I think is what Aaron is alluding to, I mean, you can't absolve the players. You can't absolve the players and their agents. You don't know what the conversations are with other, players and amongst other players. And how did Zach ask one of these players as to whether or not you think I should go back out there? And, maybe it was just a very innocent conversation that he was having with somebody who then relayed that conversation to somebody else. And that's how, the Rosenblatt Rossini report, was put together.
Yeah. And
not hard. I mean, they know all the agents. They go to all the league meetings and things of that nature. It's just like going, if you're at, the hot stove baseball league's going on right now, and you're at the winter meetings. Who else is at the winter meetings? There are general managers, and there are agents, and there are maybe a handful of players.
Yeah.
But all these people know each other, and the agent wants to get out what he wants to get out or she wants to get out in relation to their player. So who do they go to? They go to the media. They go to the John Haymans of the world, the Joel Shermans of the world, and they tell them this is, why we're doing what we're doing, but they kind of say it off the record. Then the writer's able to put it in his words or her words.
Yeah, and remember, I'm pretty sure he wasn't asked about this because I watched just about all of the Aaron Rodgers interview. But remember, we sat here yesterday. I was like, they better ask Pat McAfee show, better ask Aaron Rodgers about the Rob Saleh texting thing. I'm pretty sure they did not.
No, I don't think they did either.
And you said, and you were like, how could they not? I'm like, they could not because they're not in tune with everything that's going on around here.
Either that, or he told them not to tell him, not to ask him,
or
because remember, he's a paid guest,
right?
He's not coming in there pushing a book. He's not coming in there. He's paid. He's paid a lot of money to go on to that show, and it's one of the reasons why that show is so interesting is because he's an active player. He unfortunately is injured. It is the New York Jets. It is the media capital of the world, and there are people that are just listening and hanging on every word he says.
Well, if he didn't give them a directive to not ask that question and they didn't ask that question, that's brutal because he's sitting there trashing the organization, calling it chicken crap, and these leaks, and winning organizations don't do that. And you have this huge story that's being covered about the head coach texting with a radio host, all this different stuff. You got to ask him about it. It'll be like your head coach, for God's sakes, is one of these people that you're saying is chicken crap and leaking stuff to the media. How do you feel about that? I mean, I was so disappointed that wasn't asked yesterday, because that would give us an idea of where he stands on Rob Saleh right now, unless he did in his own way yesterday without that question being asked.
Well, he might have said, look, hey, guys, keep the coaches off limits. He could have easily said that, and he just wanted to get what he got off his chest about the organization being chicken bleep.
Yeah, and it was amazing because, when Joe Benigno came on with us yesterday, and I explained to him, what if this were you and I was putting out stuff that you told me about Evan or whatever else on the air when it was a private conversation, how would you feel? You could actually hear the gears grinding in his head. It was like, oh, now I get it. So I thought he had gotten it until he goes on at 4 o'clock with Evan and Tiki and prefaces one of the things he's about to say with, I mean, I think I can say this. And I'm like,
oh, God, here we go again.
I think I can say this, but I had a 25-minute phone conversation with Rob Saleh last night. And I'm like, oh, my God. Now, he did stop short of saying everything that was in that conversation. He goes, I don't want to share everything that we talked about. I'm like, all right, at least you learned your lesson there. But still, he's like, I don't know if I should do this, just like he did the last time.
Yes.
He's going to get mad at me, but I don't care. It's like, so if Rob Saleh, now he's not sure, Joe, completely if the relationship is going to continue with talking about the teams. He felt pretty positively about that when he was on with us, but then he mentioned later on with Evan and Tiki that he wasn't so sure about it. If Rob Saleh, I said it to Joe when he was on the phone yesterday, if Rob Saleh continues this relationship with Joe Benigno, he is the dumbest head coach we have ever seen in New York history. Dumber than Rich Kotite, dumber than everybody else that came in here and was just a total disaster. Dumber than Mickey Callaway, dumber than all these guys. If he continues this relationship after Joe Benigno chopped him up and served him to the masses, he is the dumbest guy we have ever seen be a head coach in New York.